This is Twit.
Our sponsor for this segment of Security Now is, and again, this is one I vetted. In fact, it's one we use. This little thing right here. This is my Thinkst Canary. You know, we talk about this. This is a honeypot. It looks like an external USB drive, just a little black box you could stick anywhere in a closet. All you need is an Ethernet connection and power. And then suddenly you've got a device that doesn't look like some vulnerable thing. It looks like some valuable thing. It is a honeypot that impersonates anything you want. In this case, my Thinkst Canary is impersonating a Windows Server 2019, although I was thinking of making an Exchange server or a SharePoint server because that would be pretty sweet. You'd pretty much, but the whole point is, even if you had that, it's not visible to the public. You're not putting this out in the public. You're putting this inside your network. Why would you do that? Because if a bad guy gets into your network, you need some way of telling them, of saying, oh, I see a bad guy. You need an alert that matters. Here's the Thinkst Canary console, Windows Server 2019. But let me show you how easy this is to change it, to configure it. I'm going to go to Configure My Canary, and then I can look at the so-called personality. This is what it's impersonating. IIS 10, IIS 7, a Windows domain controller, Active Directory domain controller, Windows 7 desktop. Oh, you could turn on a file share. That's a cool thing. I'm not going to read them all because it could be almost anything, including, by the way, a SCADA device. Maybe I'll make it a Hirschman RS20 automation device. Notice the MAC address is changed. Reason being, that's a Hirschman MAC address suffix. A prefix, actually. This is the prefix, and that's the suffix. So the point being, the bad guy's going to look at this and not know it's not the real deal. There's another thing you can do with your Thinkst Canary. Create these little tripwires, Canary tokens, which are simply files you could spread all over. I even put them on our Google Drive or your OneDrive, anywhere that you would put your files. You could put these. They could be a spreadsheet. They could be a Slack API key. They could be an Amazon S3 bucket. Ooh, you put that in your AWS account. And anytime somebody tries to access it, somebody's got your keys. They're in there. And you get an alert. And just the alerts that matter in just the way you want them. It could be email. It could be SMS. It could be a Slack message. They support webhooks. They have an API. Of course, it should show up on your console any way you want them. The point being, you're not going to get an alert unless you have a problem. Thinkst Canaries are honeypots that can be deployed, as you saw, in minutes. Then if somebody's accessing your lure files, those Canary tokens, or brute forcing your fake SSH server, your Thinkst Canary will immediately tell you have a problem. No false alerts, just the alerts that matter. So you see how easy it is. Choose a profile for your Thinkst Canary device, register it with a hosted console. You get monitoring, you get notifications any way you want them. Then you sit back and you wait. They can't help themselves. Once they've breached your network, when they see it, they're going to attack it. Same thing from malicious insiders. On average, companies don't know they've been breached for 91 days. All right. How much does this cost is probably your next question. You can go to canary.tools/twit. $7,500 a year. You get 5 Thinkst Canaries. You get your own hosted console. You get your upgrades, your support, your maintenance, all included. If you use the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, you're going to get 10% off, and not just for the first year, for as long as you use your Thinkst Canaries. You can always return your Thinkst Canary. They have a very generous 2-month, 60-day money-back guarantee, full refund. I should point out, though, during all the years that we have partnered with Thinkst Canary, no one's ever claimed the refund. Visit canary.tools/twit. Enter the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box. Again, 10% off for the life of your Thinkst Canary, which is a fantastic deal. Canary.tools/twit. We thank them so much for supporting us for so many years. They're big fans of yours, Steve.